Welcome to week 6 of the goal setting workshop. So in today's session, we are actually going to be looking at environment and how that plays a role in where you are today and how you got here. And I like to say more importantly, what can you start doing to shift and change? But I know when I figured out and found this information, it just changed so much for me because the awareness and the perspective. So whether you're listening on the podcast or maybe you're catching the replay on YouTube, if you're finding value in this, I would love if you were to like, subscribe, share, follow, whatever it is on whatever platform you are, because I'd love to get this message out to more people and really start impacting thousands and thousands of people, if not millions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you're watching on YouTube and get going right away. In the 1960s, if you follow personal development at all, Maxwell Maltz came up with a book after all of his research and kind of what he found out based upon what he does. And Psycho-Cybernetics, I share this book because it was one of the first books that I was introduced to by my coach, Bob Proctor. And if you haven't read it or if you haven't heard of it, I would highly recommend if you're been watching this series and if you're in personal development or even interested in learning more about yourself, Maxwell Maltz's Psycho-Cybernetics is a great read and just a great way to, you know, create awareness and an understanding of where we got to where we are and how to move forward. He was a plastic surgeon, and what he found is he found that he would take clients or these patients, and he would perform these amazing transformations, whether it was scar removal, or he would, change something that they just did not appreciate about their appearance and just have the most fantastic, life-changing results. And what he kept finding over and over and over again, which brought him to writing Psycho-Cybernetics, is that some patients after the surgeries and after the transformations, you could see the shift in them. You could see their confidence, their results, just how they showed up in the world was night and day difference in the right direction. Like they owned it. It was just incredible. Their whole being inside and out transformed from the surgery. And yet others that, had the same type of surgery with fantastic results and just life-changing on the outside, really. Some people, their results didn't change at all. Their confidence didn't change at all. How they showed up in the world didn't change at all. Everything pretty much stayed the same, if not went backwards. And so he had to get down to the bottom of this and really understand why some people fully changed inside and out and some didn't. And what he found is that the psycho part of psycho-cybernetics is Greek for mind. And the cybernetics part of it, that's a science of, control and communication in animals and in mechanics. So psycho-cybernetics was born. And what he found is that we have two self-images. The one that we project outward in our outward appearance and what the outside world sees. And the second one is the picture that we hold inside of ourselves. And how our self-image has come about is really some of it's genetics, the genes we're born with, and the other is the environment that we grew up in and that we are still around. And what Maxwell Maltz says is, we are, and at the center of us is pure perfection. We were born with our creator's, in my case, God-given talents and abilities in his perfection. and whoever your creator is in that perfection. You have that at the most conscious level of yourself. And what's happened over time is a virus code has taken over. And now you're living from the virus code, and with all of the, just imagine it's layer upon layer upon layer of crud and crap and people speaking things over you. And, a lot of this was instilled in you by the time you were 7 years old. And the one way we found that you can shift and get rid of the virus code is to start studying yourself, start understanding yourself. And that's really a huge thing that this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, will do for you, along with dozens, if not hundreds of others that I could recommend to you. But today I'm just looking at this one. And it's really in order to get rid of the virus programming and really in order to understand why you are where you are, and more importantly, how to get to where you want to be, you have to get a different awareness. You have to gain a different perspective. We're either all growing or dying, meaning that you're either contracting or expanding. So think about that. And that's a lot of, like I talked about last week with your intuition, when something's serving you and expanding you or if it's contracting you. And so really start paying attention to that. Start paying attention to your environment and what you're surrounding yourselves with. You see, your current results are a direct reflection of your thinking, of your self-image, because you will never outperform your self-image. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. It is what it is. So if your results are not what you want, whether it's in health, your bank account, your business, personal relationships, whatever it is for you, it's a direct reflection of these paradigms in your self-image of yourself and the one that you hold from the inside. And so in order to change that, you need to rethink it, which is learning about yourself, and then revise it. Work on your self-image and getting 1% better every day. And there's a few different ways we're going to look at this today. In nature, animals, they live and act by instinct. They blend in to their environment, where we as humans, we don't necessarily blend in. A lot of us, stick out, or we have the ability to make our own choices. Who do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you really want, or what do you really like to do? We have these choices. We have, as I talked about last week, reason. You have the ability to make choices, and you have the higher intellect part of you. So I ask you, to be thinking about what is it that you really want and why you don't already have it. And I can tell you why you don't already have it is because you haven't accepted it to be true because of your current self-image. You see, we're seeing life through a lens. Now, this lens you can look through, and you can look back in your past and really look at how you grew up in the environment you grew up in and what paradigms, habitual behaviors, and beliefs you have based upon that environment. If you look at mindset, mindset is how you see the world. That's how my coach explained it to me. So if mindset's how you see the world, think about how you grew up. And I love this illustration because was an abundance mindset. Did you grow up and live in a household that never thought about money? You lived in abundance. Everything was at your fingertips. You could have all these amazing experiences. The world was your oyster. All the sayings that we used to hear. Or did you grow up that, possibly money didn't grow on trees? We can't afford that. Be happy with what you got. we were often, I know a lot of clients that I coach were shamed into just expecting and being grateful. You should be grateful for what you have. You're so ungrateful, and it just contracted us. And truly, definitely, what I've learned in my relationship with gratitude is always be grateful for what you have and never satisfied, because we are meant for expansion. And if you're not expanding, you're contracting. So take the gratitude and be grateful and never satisfied. So what would you go back and rewrite if you could? What can you let go of that the people around you when you were growing up said? Or the people around you, what did they do? Because our parents and the people that raised us, they were just reacting and acting upon what they learned and their genes and their genetics and the environment that they grew up in. And yes, know better, do better. And at the time, they were doing the best they could with the tools and the information and the resources that they had in that very moment. And a lot of us in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s are living from that 7-year-old child and from those beliefs that were instilled in us that no longer serve us. And so many people, about 85 to 90% of the human population actually are still making decisions from that place. So if the world is in your hand, literally, and your environment shapes you and continues to shape you, and you can make this whatever you want it to be, knowing that information, what would you do differently? And what can you start doing today that will start infusing into you what it is that you truly desire? I talk about the 1% better every day. I'm all for quantum leaps and jumping not 5% or 10%, but 250 to 500%. But if that scares you too much, start with 1% better every day. Start with the tech age. We are so immersed in technology. I watch out my front door. I have a park at the end of my street, and I watch these people walk by, walking their dogs on their phone like this, just not even paying attention. I walked by the park the other day, and the trail's a little bit long through the park, and this woman, I would say it was probably, I had my eyes on her for a minute to a minute and a half. I kid you not. The child, I'm hoping she was a nanny and not a parent. I'm hoping she was a babysitter. She was on one of those saucer swings, and this woman was looking down at her phone, pushing the swing, did not look up from her phone once while she was pushing this child on the swing. If that is you, I just beg of you to put your phone down and be present with the ones you're in front of. Be present with your loved ones, with your partners, with your children, with your friends at dinner or happy hour. Like, put the damn phones down and actually make the other person feel important enough to have you unplug from something that doesn't really matter anyways. Because if it is an emergency, then you should probably just leave and take care of the emergency. Everything else can wait. And I just say that with such conviction because I've been guilty of it too. I know most people have, but check yourself. How has technology taken over and broken you apart from relationships and building bonds with the people nearest and dearest to you? Or maybe it's helped your business, and how has it hurt it? If you're with a client and your phone is on the table, that's signaling to them that you might be waiting for something important to happen. So put the phone away and use it when it will help you, and don't let it overtake you. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. The next thing is social media. Social media is another one that comes along with the tech age. So often, I actually, and she listens to the podcast. So Stacy, if you're listening, thank you for this. at my women's business collective, one of the members has this thing on her phone where she has to do a math problem before she can open, I think it's social media or maybe even her phone. So she's just like, and it takes about 7 seconds to do. And she's like, half the time I put it back down because it's not worth it. And I was actually just picking out my phone out of habit, and it catches you. So I thought that was genius. And I'm going to get that app just because it will make you pause. Like, do you really need your phone? Why are you grabbing your phone? Because so many people just grab their phone and start mindlessly scrolling or doing something because of the dopamine hits and what it does for you and what social media is meant to do for you and why so many people are addicted. So there's tips and there's tricks and there's tools to help you with that. But it's very divisive. And if you're out there and you're listening, like I can barely go on Facebook right now. And I don't know when you're listening to this, but we're about to go into the 2024 election. We're like 2 weeks away. And my God, what some people are posting and how some people are showing up, I'm embarrassed for them on either side of the spectrum, in either side, whether you're blue or red, Republican, Democrat, it's disgusting in some cases. And so if you're doing that, that's the energy you're in. And you're feeding that energy, which is only making this whole situation bigger because where you focus your energy on expands. And if it's in hateful ways, that's expanding. So I encourage you to check that. I've stayed off a lot of it because it's just kind of not really a great place to be right now. Some platforms are better than others, and some I spend a little less time on. So watch where you're spending your time and in what energy you're there. The people that you surround yourself with. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Often we've always heard that we're the combination of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Well, now, that can be either virtually, that can be in person. So many people are now telling me they feel isolated. So they aren't even really spending much time with anyone, which is getting them really poor results. They don't know where to go or what to do. A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. So think about that. Think about the people that you're surrounding yourself with and who you're talking to and what conversations you're having, especially the conversations you have over and over and over again. Are they expanding you or are they contracting you? Are they adding to your life, into your success, into where you want to go? Or are they just taking up space? Because you will not get any more time. You cannot buy more time. We all get the same amount of time in the day. It's what activities, it's what conversations, it's what you do with the time that sets the 1 to 3% apart from the rest of the population. Think about, what are you listening to? It's so interesting. If you're listening and watching something that's giving you maybe anxiety or it's just not fulfilling you or it's making you upset, stop watching it. You can turn the channel. I promise. If your vibration is off, like don't watch it. I haven't watched the news in, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many years, probably about 7 years. And I will tell you, I know what's going on in the world. It will find you. And if you do choose to watch the news or you do choose to, watch stuff that might not put you in a very good vibration, just don't inundate yourself with it. Get the information and shut it off or turn the channel or do something different. So many people just sit for hours and hours and hours and just watch this stuff that really, I'm not going to get political, but a lot of it's not even quite true. So just think about where you're spending your time. And in controlling what you can control, think about it. Think about, as if you're watching on the podcast again, I apologize. I have a slide that has a bunch of words on it of so many triggering things to so many different people. And what I say is a lot of this you can't even control. So focus on controlling what you can control And that will give you some power back, and that will give you a sense of direction, a sense of fulfillment, and a sense of, you'll encourage yourself versus feeling like a victim, feeling like everything's being done to you, and this sucks, and why is this happening, and woe is me, and I can't believe he did that, I can't believe she said that. Just stop and focus on you, and focus on understanding yourself better and controlling what you can control, and so much will change. Watch what you read. What are you reading? As books, is it expanding you? Is it giving you in education? Is it making you better? A lot of people, I know for so many years, I listened to the radio, or I read, fiction that just really didn't give back to me at all. It was more entertainment, which is fine once in a while, but that's all I did. And so what I chose to do is flip that. And now I do that for entertainment every once in a while, but a majority of what I'm reading and what I'm filling my mind with is meant to expand me, is to educate me, is to get me 1% better every day. Same thing with what I'm listening to. I used to listen to the radio all the time. Used to listen to talk radio, or, I felt like I knew these people. And I know I've mentioned this before. And that's just them living out their dreams, having their business or having their career and hitting it big. Why I'm sitting here spinning my wheels. So I stopped it. I started listening to podcasts. I started listening to YouTube videos, audio books that will just expand my awareness and perspective of so many different things. Like, I crave it now. I crave to learn something new every day and become much more than 1% better every day. And I compete with myself. I compete to beat who I was yesterday. And I don't worry about anyone else. I worry about me and what I can control and how I show up for myself. What rooms are you in? What masterminds are you a part of? Whose energy are you physically surrounding yourself with? It's important. It's important of who you are letting in to your circle and who you are surrounding yourself around and being part of theirs. If you are not to your goals, I would look at that, and I'd look at that closely and decide what and who you need to leave behind, and replace it with what will serve you and what will get you on the path to your goals. Because so many of us just continue to do what we do out of habit, out of our paradigms, because that's what we've always done, or that's what we were told to do. And it doesn't make sense anymore, but we don't stop to really analyze it or think about it. So stop and think, because so many people don't. They just do what they do because that's what they do. If you want to get into the top 1, 3, 5%, you got to start thinking and leaving part of you and other people and other relationships behind that no longer serve you. It's hard in the moment, and it's so rewarding on the other side. And really, who are you listening to? Who are those 5 people? If you stop and analyze it, or if you stop and figure out and think about where you're gathering your information from, that you're making decisions about yourself, about business, whose relationship advice are you taking? Have they done what you intend to do? Are they where you want to be? Or are you listening to your neighbor, or your uncle, or your friend, or your parents that have never done what you intend to do or where you're going, and you're taking advice from them? Or you're letting them shrink you and you're playing small because of something someone said that has no relevance to you and your goals and where you're going? I know that was me for years until I found all this information. So really watch who you're listening to and look at them a little bit deeper. What are their paradigms? Where are they coming from? What are their beliefs? Especially if it's maybe your boss, a speaker you're listening to. Maybe it's a parent or a spouse or a friend. They all have their own baggage and they are all fighting their own battles and they're all speaking from their level of awareness and what they perceive to be their truth in this moment. And 99 out of 100 times, I'm going to say 999 out of 1,000 times, if you thought about it and looked at it and analyzed it, you should not be listening to them. Because most people, you can listen to them, but I would be very hesitant on taking the advice or taking action unless you know exactly who you're talking to, that they're qualified, that they're doing what you intend to do, or why you're going to them for advice. Everything else is just a conversation to be had. So I had to throw that in there because I know that this is a stumbling block for so many people. And this one was as well for me in the beginning. And I love this. So as you're going out and as you're having these conversations and as you're looking at your environment, I encourage you to speak less and listen more. So speak less means that you should usually talk about 30% of the time and have the other person who you're in conversation with talk 70%. And that's by asking really good questions and just listening to hear and respond versus listening to respond. So I say listen to understand and hear versus respond. So many people are listening because they want to respond quick or they just can't wait to say something. So think about how you listen. Do you cut people off as they're in the middle of a conversation or a sentence? When they're done talking, do you ask for permission to give your point of view? Or do you ask if they're looking for advice or a solution or just want to vent? And when you do you speak from your head or do you speak from your heart? Because I tell you what, some of the people that make the most money and it just flows to them in abundance are because they are attentive, very good listeners. They listen to understand, they listen to, take the information in and really resonate with it, and then ask for permission. Ask if they want a response. Speak from their heart and not their head. So think about how you're listening to others and interacting with them in your environment because it will make a definite big difference. Because words matter, and I'll let you know for sure that the words that you speak matter because your subconscious is always eavesdropping on you. So if you're just like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. Or I go, you're speaking down to yourself. That's what your subconscious is grabbing onto. It's accepting it because it can't reject anything. So that's where a lot of people do positive affirmations. A lot of people have the I am tattoos or the I am statements because you want to speak into existence what it is you want and what it is you desire versus the negativeness and coming down on yourself. And the more you talk debt or you think about how bad things are, is the more you're going to get because energy will attract energy. Like energy attracts like energy. So really watch your words, watch how you talk about yourself and watch how you talk to yourself. So many people, countless numbers of people are just not very nice to themselves. I know a rule of thumb that changed this for me is that advice or something you'd say to maybe a best friend or one of your kids, or advice you would give someone that you really, really loved or cared about? And most times, just about every time, the answer is no, you wouldn't talk to them that way. And you wouldn't let anyone else talk to them that way. You would tell them, don't listen to that, or I can't believe that person said that to you. That's horrible. And yet we do it to ourselves all the time. So watch your words. very, very important. And wrapping up, the world is truly at your fingertips. You can make of this and have whatever it is you truly desire if that's what you want. It's just shifting your awareness and your perspective in order to get from where you are to where you want to be. So start today. Start with your environment. Again, watch this video over and over again. Start over with week 1. This is yours for the taking. It's yours to have for as long as you want. And I would revisit it at least once a year, run through this whole program again. We're about halfway through now. And you will see it differently and you will hear it differently every time you come back to it because it's so powerful because you will always be in a different spot. And always, I'm here to help. I have a few coaching spots open for one-on-one coaching as well. If you're interested, drop me an email. Again, this is a workshop where you can, excuse me, pay what you want, when you want, if you want. So if you'd like to, go ahead. If not, I'm just here to give you this information and pay it forward because it changed my life so dramatically and drastically. And all I want to do is get this out for everyone to hear. So drop your comments though. I'd love to hear what your takeaways were, what your ahas were, and what you're going to start doing today to get 1% better and maybe cut out some of the noise that no longer serves you because it will shift everything. You just have to make the decision and your self-image and you're worth it. And so many people, confidence, self-worth, just got to work on it and start with 1%, start with one thing and go from there. So until next week, let me know how I can be helping. And I would love to, again, see your comments and see how this is resonating with you and what you're liking. If there's anything you want me to cover or go back to, let me know as well. I'm happy to do that. So we'll see you next week and you have a good one and think, think, think. Think for yourself and make a change. Bye now.